Hey, peace and blessings, family. Uh, it's another edition of Sunday Sit with Sisters, and I am so blessed and so honored to have this Queen Mother in my eyes. So, Queen Mother, you say yay?
I was just getting teased about all my many names.
Yeah.
Iyanifa Adeloye.
What does that mean? I'm always waiting.
Adeloye is basically like the crown. This is a Western interpretation, but it's the crown of the enlightened one.
Mm,
Anytime we see Loye in the Yoruba context, it's to denote someone who has done a lot of work on themselves or, really trudged through the mud to reach a place of enlightenment, quote unquote, which absolutely does not mean perfection because the work
right,
never stops,
right
but
on,
it's just to signify someone who has worked a lot and achieved a certain level of being in status in the IFA community.
right on.
Yes,
So,
yes,
before we get into the topic, because I think we
yes.
can go a lot of ways with that topic, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Because sometimes people be an expert and they have been sitting on their couch for 25 years
I
and now they're an
shall.
expert. So, you tell
Yes,
us a little bit about your background?
yes. Of course, my name, my writing name is Love, Love Tashia Santi. That's I renamed myself Love because I wanted people to know me and to meet me and embrace me in the energy of love. And I want to be remembered as love when I'm an ancestor, and I want to always bring the energy of love into whatever I'm doing. So when people have to speak love, it brings that energy. So that's why I go by also Love to Shia Asante. But I am an author. I'm an author of 9 books. I'm a breakthrough coach, meaning that I help folk break through the mud and the muck of life to live their best destiny, to live their dream, to take their businesses to the $1 million or even $1 billion level, to birth the things that are in them that need to come out, right? To live their
Mhm,
destiny. So that's what being a breakthrough coach means. And as you know, I'm also a fellow priestess and
mhm.
practitioner of Ifa spirituality, and I've been initiated to Yemoja for 23 years. And
Wow.
I did my Tefa in 2006 with the late, great Chief Kofi Zanu Metahochi Ibaye Torun. And I'm just a worker. I'm just here trying to do the work that God and the Orisha and my own Ori have put before me to accomplish. So I'm just here, as they say, doing my work.
Right on, right on.
Shay.
So when I came across the someone sent me a clip or a newspaper article, something like that, about the sister performer India Irie, and then it was talking about Megan Thee Stallion and Janelle Monae, and I
Yes.
guess something that happened at the Essence Award, and I fell out with somebody behind this, by the way. So we just was like, good riddance to you too,
Right.
because I just like I don't know, it just feels like the moral compass in some of our communities is so low that we can't even be respectful enough to be like, you know what, I see what that system mean, or
Yes.
even though I'm okay with it, I don't mind seeing a person's boob or twerking, but I can respect that other people don't. It feel like in our communities, we belong to so many, but in particular the Black community, it just seems like we don't get to be multifaceted. We don't get to say, no, I don't want to do that. We don't get to, it's like all of us or none. And I just be like, no, dude, I'm not with that. But I'm so,
Yeah.
what I mean? I guess when you live certain eras, it's a little different because I've never sat on the couch for 25 years. Like I've
Mm.
been working since I was like 17. So I just hadn't, and I lived through the crack era. So I've never had the luxury of acting like this is none of my business, or I could
Yes.
just look away, or I do girls programs, so I can tell you all of the stuff that girls have shared with me that's been so off the chain that I really wish mothers, and particularly younger mothers, can hear the impact of
Yeah.
their decisions on their now adult children or their
Yes.
teenagers.
Yeah.
How do we ever turn this thing around if we just can't have a compass? Like when I was growing up, I didn't. My mother did not smoke in front of us. She did not. I mean, she could have smoked. I'm not smoke a cigarette. She didn't smoke cigarettes. Even though she didn't drink, there were certain things she did not do in our presence. And even though she was a grown woman
Yeah.
and could have did all those things, she was like, there are certain things you don't do in front of your children.
Oh, yes.
unless you're ready to have certain conversations with them. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Oh,
So,
yes.
so how did you feel when that whole thing came out in terms of India Irie and then Megan Thee Stallion and Janelle Monae and the
Oh,
mess?
man, this is a near and dear topic to my heart, and I too saw the controversy and what we were dealing with. And first it was the big thing that happened with Kiki Palmer, our amazing
Oh,
sister, young and incredible sister, just powerhouse. I love her. And she had gone to a Usher concert.
mm-hmm.
That was one of the first controversies that came out. She had gone to an Usher concert and she was looking cute. She had her baby. And as they say, she had gone through the feelings that most women go through after they have a baby. Your body has to kind of snap back sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping, and you just feel it when you become a mother. If you're breastfeeding, there's a whole thing that goes with that. So she was feeling good about herself, and she put on something really sexy and went with her homegirl to this concert. And Usher, he's known for when there's celebrities in the house, he'll call them up to the stage. So she's in a committed relationship with her baby daddy, and so when they took the picture, and again, the media does this, the media kind
Mm-hmm.
of really, masturbated this. That's all I'm gonna say. But right. But anyway, so she took this picture with Usher, and her whole butt was out. I mean, I'm just gonna keep it real. Her whole butt was out, and she looked fabulous.
She did.
And right, I mean, she looked beautiful. She was gorgeous. She is gorgeous. But her mate put up one sentence initially. I understand he went back and posted more later. He put up one sentence in response to the exchange that the world witnessed between her and Usher, which was a little risque, for
Mm-hmm.
her to be in a committed relationship. She was being, a little flirtatious and playing with him, but he was serenading her. So no harm done. It's not like they got busy on the middle of the stage, but
Right.
he did wrap his arms around her, and his hand was about 2 inches from her
I
butt.
seen the video.
Right, right. So, I mean, if that was my mate, I would have felt some kind of way. I was like, now, baby, you up there, with almost nothing on, your whole butt is out, and this man is holding my woman around her waist. And,
Mm.
so I could see a man feeling a little emasculated by seeing another man holding his woman like that, you know. Now, there are all kinds of schools of thought on that. And I mean, the discussion on it has been lengthy.
Whew.
Some people feel like, what, the sister didn't do nothing wrong. She was just having a good time. His comment was, "You're a mother, so you should not be on stage dressed like this with another man. You're in a committed relationship. So you should not be on stage with a man with his arms around your waist right close to your butt." Right? He
Right.
felt some kind of way. So he didn't say all that, but that's what we all took from his post.
Right.
And so there was a whole, like, big thing that was going on with thousands of comments everywhere across the community about this incident. And me personally, again, I feel like the sister is beautiful. I know what it's like to be a mother and feeling after you have a baby, and then finding you're sexy again, and just wanting to be out and be free and feel young and why shouldn't you, as a mother, be able to express yourself in that way?
I
I
agree.
also understand that when you are a mother, and I speak from experience of being a teenage mom, and I remember I was a rap artist as a young woman, and I had an opportunity to sign with a big company.
Mm.
I mean, a major, major recording company, record label. And they told me that in order to be with this company, that I had to change my image, because my image, I did not cuss in my rap.
Mm.
I only spoke about women in positive ways. I used my rap to promote African culture and African identity and the culture of our, ancestors, the traditional cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And I used it as a platform for civil rights and the rights of Black people. But they told me that they wanted me to sag my pants. They
Mm.
wanted me to put a bottle of Old English. They're like, we're going to stage a photo shoot. And we're going to put a beer bottle in your hand. We might want you to pack a pistol. We want you to come
Wow.
off like this. Now I look back on that because, as a single mother struggling at the time, it was tough.
Mm.
And they were going to pay me a whole lot of money. They loved my talent. They believed in me, and they were going to probably make me really, really famous. But at that time, I had a 14-year-old daughter. And I
Mm.
thought about what seeing that image of her mother, would do to her as a young woman. And I had
Mm-hmm.
to say no. And she and I kind of laugh about it. She ended up running for the US Senate in 2019. This is the young woman that the village raised up. And I know that her having the confidence to believe in herself as a young Black woman to do something like that had a lot to do with how we, not just me, but we raised her.
Right on.
So even though I don't regret not taking it on, there were some days when I had to, pay those bills where I thought I should have just took the deal and figured it out later. But we haven't, those images today that we see
Mm.
kind of what motivated me, so it does make a difference how our children see us, how we appear in the world, because when you're an influential figure, you're influencing all the young girls in America, all the young Black girls, as well as girls of other races.
That's real
So
talk.
I definitely think it matters.
So, but here's the thing: like Kiki Palmer and her husband. Do you think that people? Because this also makes me think of Will Smith and Jada. And every time you bring them up in the Black community, Black people, women included, they're so hard on Jada. Like
Yes.
they so. And I'm like, these people are married to each other. Do you think they have an agreement that maybe we know nothing about?
Yes,
Do you understand what I'm
absolutely.
saying? Like, I don't really know these people. Like, we don't know who wears the pants in their house. Ain't none of my business, really. But
Right.
we talk like if it's like when people don't do things, that's the norm. We don't
Yes.
know what to do with that. I mean,
Yes.
it ain't impacting me. That's
Yes.
between Will and Jada and whoever the other
Yes.
people are. But it's like these are real grown ass people. Like they're in their
Yes.
50s. Like they've been married
Yes.
for a decade or two. Like I just don't understand the need to really be so hard or to defend things that we know nothing about. Because now look
Yes.
at Kiki Palmer, her dude. When I heard the first message that you're a mom now, we
Yes.
don't know what conversations that him and her had about things
Exactly.
she wanted to do.
Right. Right. Right.
You
That
know
could
what
have
I
been
mean?
the issue. Right.
That could have been something that you know how we talk to each other and be like,
Yes.
"Girl." But
Yes.
I'm not with Kiki. I didn't have a baby with Kiki Palmer. I
Yes.
don't. I'm not with her every day. I don't.
Yes.
And then she recently came out and talked about some of the things that her guy is dealing with as it pertains to things that happened to him in his industry. But see, we
Mm.
don't want to talk about that out loud.
Right.
See,
Right.
that's something we probably should be talking about.
Yes. And I'm not even aware of that. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate a little
So
bit?
she basically talked about the impact of some things that happened with him with different figures in the industry.
Ah,
Very big, and there's been a lot of videos about this same
okay.
person. He said,
Okay.
"I'm saying he's a big rap mogul,
Okay. I
and the
already
things
got
that
it.
yeah,
Okay.
the things that he's done with black males, and
Mm-hmm.
how it's really and being a part of the gatekeepers, which
Mm-hmm.
make men have to do things that's not inside of who they are sexually, like
Yes.
that's not their preference." And so
Yes.
instead of us really talking, and it's not gay bashing, because I
Yes.
think a lot of gay people feel like, well, damn, you fucking it up for me. Because people gonna think we're all like that.
Right.
You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? They're gonna think we're all this way. So
Right.
I just feel like there's a way, the same way we have to talk about predators who are straight
Yes.
and who have done stuff to people, the same way
Right.
we have to talk about that. Like
Exactly.
those are the conversations we probably should have, but
Yes.
we won't have because I really think that some of us are guilty of these same behaviors,
Yes.
and we
Real
think something's
talk.
gonna come out the closet on us, like
Yes.
this happened to me, or you know this person did this to me, or
Yes.
those are the conversations I think we should be having.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
what I mean? Instead of trying to make Jada feel some way because it could appear that she may be the masculine one in her relationship, and if she is, so what? Because I ain't in a relationship.
Hey, they figured out how to walk together for over 2 decades. I
Yeah,
got mad love for them.
yeah. I'm like, y'all, this ain't none of our business. Like, leave
Right.
these people alone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But there is
Oh
this
yeah.
need to like I don't know. One minute we'd be celebrating the ratchet. That's what my homegirl calls it, celebrating
Yes.
the ratchet. And then
Wow,
the next
that's
moment we
deep.
want to act like we want to have, like we are these straight laced people.
Yes.
You know, you'd be like, huh? Like
Right.
last week
Right.
you was over here. So I don't know. That's just a reoccurring theme
Oh,
that I see,
yes.
especially when it comes to black women and their bodies.
Yes.
There's a lot of different policing that goes on.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's a lot of shaming that goes on. Now, mind you, I understand that even with Megan the Stallion and Janelle Monae, I don't really go to concerts like that. I'm not against them. I'm not even into their music like that. I've been to one Indie Irene concert. You know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
I feel like they're I don't know. I feel like when I don't want to see something, I kind of get up and walk out if it's not
Yes.
my thing. I've done
That.
that. I've done that at speaking engagements. Somebody
Right.
came for somebody, and I was like, I gotta go because
Right.
I can't sit in the audience. But I just feel like there has to be like when I was growing up, when my mama played Millie Jackson, we were
Yes.
supposed to be all in the bed sleep.
You're right. But you were watching.
But you know, I heard that Millie Jackson album.
Right.
You know, she had a
Oh yeah.
nasty mouth. But
Oh
it's
my
just that
God.
common courtesy of I don't want to expose my kids to this. They can find this
Yes.
on their own. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? I feel
Yes.
like there's a hard kind of balancing act that's happening in our community where we don't want to talk about accountability and
Yes.
responsibility. We're
Yes.
on this big strain of we're gonna blame people who are not even in our house
Yes.
and systems and things that because you really have the power to determine, you know, for the most part, what you want your kid to be exposed to.
Yes. It's so real. I'm over
You
here
know?
tagging.
Oh,
That
no
is
worry. No
so
worry.
real, yeah, with
Why
the
do you
things that, yes.
yeah,
Your
no, why do
question?
you yeah, no, why do you think people are trying to condone certain behavior because now we're talking about the Essence Fest. I have friends who go every year. I have never been once. They loved it. They had a ball. I
Yeah.
talked to some of them who went and you know when that happened, and they was like, you know, I love the turn up, but I have a limit to my turn up.
Ah, ah. Wow. Well, that is another real, I mean, that was one of the controversies that just followed Kiki Palmer. But I want to back up and respond
Yeah.
to your question and your thought because I think it's very poignant. And you mentioned, like, why do we, harshly judge each other? Why do we look for the flaws in each other and
Mm-hmm.
focus on that? There could be many beautiful things. Like when I look at the career of Will Smith, this
Yeah.
guy, 20, 30, almost 30-year career in the rap and acting, television, and film industry. And this is the first time he ever had a controversy. Like you don't see any baby mamas, any
Yeah.
illegitimate, he's employed thousands of people. I
People.
mean, he has
Yeah.
done so much positive work in his career. So he has one big, you know, mess up. And people were like, I'm never gonna go to another Will Smith. I'm never gonna watch his movies. I mean, it was horrible how we were, ready to throw this man under the bus. So what is that about? I think that in a quest to be accepted and affirmed by mainstream society, that we black people have put these almost impossible standards of perfection on each other, and that there has been this promotion of a divisive culture among us,
Mm,
that
mm.
divide and conquer. Because when you look at the loyalty that the Trumpers had for him, I have to acknowledge, like, if nothing else, this man has people that, I mean, when you come on, when you host and spearhead an insurrection, people should turn their backs on you, and you still have people like I'm Trump till I die and all of that. You know, if we had even a smidgen, right? Yes, of that kind of loyalty for each other as black people, we could end racism in a day. And if we had black and brown people together, hey, it would be over. And I think the powers that be know that. So I definitely think we need to handle our conflict and our challenges better. And that
I
we need
agree.
to look, yeah, toward restorative justice and restorative healing and look at ways that we can, hold people accountable without destroying them, and we can get up under what's really going on. And we can also look at our roles in the things that happen within our own community. I mean, look at R. Kelly and how many people knew about what was really going down with him and these young women. that he was harming, but nobody wanted to deal with it. Some of them were being paid. Sometimes they just didn't were scared to, address it or to hold them accountable. So, but there's ways, and then there's the thing that we really don't want to talk about, which was his own abuse, right? And his own damage and the wounds that he, as a man, as a black man, was carrying, and their connection to the PTSD of the enslavement and the Mayafa. Like, this is what we're not dealing with. He was
Right.
abused, and 100 years ago, his ancestors were being abused and raped and sodomized and emasculated, and all of that horror. We still carry it in our DNA, and have not been able to quantify or even qualify it. Reparations is a beginning, but
Mhm.
reparations, no amount of money, no payment, no reparations check can make up for the psychological damage and the spiritual harm that the enslavement caused on black people. I know that's
Mhm.
another workshop. That's
No,
another.
no, no. I think all of it is connected. I just feel like I don't know. It's like when I'm trying to solve something, I can't bite off too much. Like I
Yes.
get slavery, I get all that. Trust me, I'm one of those people. I
Yeah, I
just
know
talked to
you.
my
Oh,
grandmother is 97 and she was sharing stuff
oh,
with me, and I was like, wow, and she still lives in North Carolina. But I just feel like in the immediate, what I've been able to glean is that there is a lack of respect for black women in the black
yes,
community.
yes,
We are the like we uphold people when they're wrong
yes,
because of this whole thing about how bad the black men have it, but the black
yes,
women have it probably 10 times as worse because she
yes,
had to carry the seeds of these people. So it's like I get all of that. I really do, but I just feel like in the immediate, we have to like really look at the way we feel about black women and girls. We even talk that when we abuse each other, that somehow it's okay because we belong to each other. That's how crazy our shit is.
wow,
Which is why some people have to leave us. It's not because they don't love black people, it's because they really love black people. They have to get the hell away from us because we're really sick.
yes,
We're really kind of sick.
yes,
I have great nieces and regular nieces out in the world, and I'd be so afraid for them because we'll do stuff, and then in the same breath, we'll act like it's okay because you're black.
right.
It's
I'm not
okay. And it's like, it's not, it's never okay.
or
It's
famous,
yeah, right.
right?
It's just like it was just never. We'll just be protected, and then it feels like some of us are protectors of criminal behavior. It's
Yeah,
like we love criminality and we have an excuse for us being criminals. It's like there's no safety there, and
yeah,
I just can't. And I wholeheartedly, it's hard to jump all the way back to slavery when I have to deal with things that's right in front of my face, and they're not white people.
yes,
These
yeah,
people aren't even here. I don't even know these white folks.
right,
You understand what I'm saying?
right,
And I'm
right.
not saying that when you start digging deep, you get to
Yes.
that. I agree. But I'm talking about in terms of us being able to solve something here and now. I'm gonna give you an example. In the drug gang,
Mm,
you did not do anything ridiculous because
mm,
it could mean your life. You
yes.
can never go to a drug dealer who you was supposed to be selling crack for and be like, I
Right.
smoked the crack because I'm addicted because I have trauma in my family from slavery. You
Yes.
would be gone.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I just,
Yes.
I don't. I was watching Tupac's Dear Mama documentary, and
Mm,
I've never was a big fan of Tupac. So I'm not gonna lie.
mm,
I think he was okay. I lived the era, so I don't really see him the
yes.
same.
Yes.
But that to me was one of the best documentaries because it showed the whole him, like the him that was
Yes.
conscious, having
Yes.
to deal with communities who were not as conscious, who
Right.
were kind of criminal. Like,
Right.
and it was just all of these, it was just showing it all at the same time, which to me
Yes.
made it really brilliant. So there was a time where he was speaking at like a black power movement kind of
Mm,
thing, and Khalid
mm,
Muhammad was there. It was a lot of people there. And this
mm.
dude he was going off and he was cussing. And the sister leaned over, she was an elder, and she said, could you cool with the profanity? And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry about all of that. But this shit here, and he just went right back. And I'm saying to myself, see, here's the thing. Like, I
Here's the
understand how
thing.
upset he was, but
Yes.
there's protocol. You weren't even talking to an audience full of gangsters.
Right.
You were talking to an
Exactly.
audience full of people who had dashikis on, who had arrived at some kind
Right.
of Africanism so
Right.
that they could be okay. But I
Right.
just feel like we have a hard time holding accountable. And I think
Yes.
he knew that in his mind, but
Yes.
he was surrounded by people who weren't afraid to kind
Yes.
of roll with him. There was
Very.
another there's another thing when Muhammad Ali had got out of jail or wherever he was, and he had hired some of the people from the nation, like kind of shady characters, and his wife
Yes.
was trying to tell him that these people were shady. And he
Yes.
looked her right in the face and said, "At this stage, I
Mm.
need some niggas to be able to do some shit that they afraid of."
Wow.
You see
I
what I'm saying? And I
never
was
seen
like,
that one.
wow.
Oh my
Yeah, you
God.
have to see it's in one of the movies where he played himself, Muhammad Ali. But
Okay.
I think sometimes we forget that different elements are needed at different times. I
Yes.
can't see no real righteous brother who, oh, their sister
Right.
happened to really pull a gun out on somebody, like, I'm gonna
Right.
bust your cap in your ass, you run up on me.
Right.
That's a different person's line. It's usually not the same person. And I think
Right.
Tupac
Right.
struggled with that. He was like
Right.
in both worlds trying to,
Trying to
and he
balance
loved
it.
black people. Like he
Right.
would talk like he loved
Mhm.
us. That's why he
Oh
stopped
yeah.
when the man was being harassed and pull out
Yes.
his stuff when the undercover covers pull out their stuff. I
Yeah.
think they pull their
Yeah.
stuff out first. But what I'm saying is that's like a lot, and we never talk about the
Yes.
duality of the two. Like,
Yes.
when do
Yeah.
you not do stuff to people? When do we realize, okay, this person ain't about that life? Let's
Right.
not do that with this person because they
Right.
that's not who they are. I'm gonna go over here. We can do this over here with them because they are about. We struggle with the
Yes.
respectability part
Yes.
of, like, we're all black, but we ain't all the same. We're not a monolith.
Exactly.
We don't believe the same stuff
Yes. That
all the
is so
time.
powerful. That is so powerful, my sister. I mean, to me, Tupac is one of our tragedies. The fact that oh, blessings, brother Jeff is
Hey, brother
on.
Jeff
What's going
Denver.
on, black man? You know him, of course.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm
You know,
sorry. Yeah,
Tupac to me is one of our tragedies.
yeah,
He is one of the, like, I always think about if he had even gotten initiated to Ifa, if
yeah.
he had even been a part of NOI or the Nation of
Yeah, I
Islam,
get you.
right? How that would have changed
Mm-hmm.
the course of his life. He's one of the ones that we could not save because
Right.
he was prolific. And just his gifts alone, he had so much ashe and so much ofo ashe on his tongue. He was brilliant. He was a brilliant lyricist, just
Mm-hmm.
speaking from a rap perspective of being a hip
Right.
hop artist. This man was prolific, but, the system got him. His mother being, having to go into exile. All of those factors contributed to
She
him
was
being
amazing.
who he is. He's an example, as Ramona Africa once told me, of the student doing what the teacher taught him. He succumbed to the
Yes.
dark forces, right? To the lower vibrational energies.
Mm-hmm.
Because we couldn't get him. We just couldn't reach him. But there's so many who we can. And that's why we're doing this show today, to reach those sisters. Blessings, Khadija.
My
When I
sister.
look at and speaking of the other Megan Thee Stallion and the Essence Festival, controversy with Sister Janelle Monae and India Ari speaking up, and you were talking about the role of the elders. And I was recently at a cultural celebration for Juneteenth, and it was a fabulous program. I mean, it was beautiful. They had the professors, they had the singers, they had all kinds of powerful people. But one of the artists that performed, he came up. Now there was elders, it was a mixed audience, there was white folks, it was black folks, it was
Mm-hmm.
all kind of people. And this young man came up, he was a good rapper. But on Juneteenth celebration, on the celebration, he started doing a rap and he was using the N word. Mm. Now, the first time he did, and I didn't really know these people, because had they been my fam, I'd have start clapping. I'd have said, "Oh, oh, that's enough." But I tell you, I agonized when I left there because I was telling my family, I was like, I should have said something. I'm an elder, I'm a priestess. I
Right.
should have said, bruh, it's not okay. First of all, we're here because folk use the N word.
Right
That
on.
was a way that they disparaged us. And we understand linguistics. We all know the root of the word nigur. We know that. But
Right.
in a mixed audience on this day, it's inappropriate. And someone
Right.
should have told you, we're not going to do that song today, baby. So
Right.
I know what you're saying around the accountability, and we
Yeah.
have to do better because at the end of the day, if anything, I should have pulled the young man to the side
Right
after he
on.
came off the stage and said something to him, even though that wasn't my job because it wasn't my event. But I
I get that.
understand. So I agree with you that we have to do better about speaking to each other in the most loving and kind way that we can. But as it relates to that concert. Now I love Janelle Monae. She is a powerhouse of a sister. I mean, I just want to say her brilliance, her intelligence, her beauty, her empowerment. That sister is bad. That's all I got to say. But she put out a video. It's beautiful in its essence, called Lipstick Lover. I understand where the sister was going with that video. She was trying to, first of all, make a statement about her right to love who she wants.
Right on.
It was, she appears in the video with her full on breast out. She has a black woman who is featured prominently in there, and she shows her whole entire behind, except for one little sliver of material. And she kisses the woman on the ass in this video. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a deep video. It's got
Right.
millions of views. And people, and I mean, again, I understand what she was trying to do. I understand that in our healing, there's a part of it that comes with reclaiming the right to our bodies and
I
doing
get
what
that.
we want to do with our bodies. But I also feel like not everybody deserves to see that. There are some sick people, there are some racists, there's
Hmm.
white supremacists.
That's
There,
what's pushing a lot of this stuff.
right, to put a queen, a sacred exchange like that, the breasts of a black woman, right? Oof,
Right.
Arisha coming,
Right on.
to understand that we were forced to breastfeed babies of our enslavers and the
That's
people
real
who were
talk.
tormenting and raping us. So to me, for a black, sacred. No, not
Right.
everybody deserves to see my naked body. I am a queen,
Right
and I
on.
must be elevated and treated that way. And a queen don't let everybody see her naked body, right?
Right.
That's a right that has to be earned. And it should not
Mhm.
be given to every person that goes on the internet. No, they don't deserve to see us in that way, in my opinion.
No, I look.
You
I
can tell I'm
wholehearted.
passionate
No,
about
no, yeah, yeah. But I haven't even seen the video, and I can tell that you're not that you're very passionate about, but you're breaking it down. I think that's part of what's missing. That's a
it.
big
Yes,
part of what's missing.
yes,
Like I think back in the '90s when we would do, like for instance, Two Live Crew was out. Me
yes,
so horny, throw that dick, pop the pussy.
right.
I mean, I can't remember. We never played that in the presence of certain people
Yes, ma'am.
because it was called respect for
That
like
part.
I would never do that. So
Yes,
there was these, and my parents they probably talk about Millie Jackson. It was somebody else I can remember that had a potty ass mouth, but
yes,
they would never play them when we were in the room. Like
yes,
that was what I mean. So this
yes,
seemed like there's this respect level that's
yes,
missing. I say I
yes.
could see if she was talking just to that community.
That part.
You see what I'm
That
saying? Because
part.
people always do stuff
Yes,
to the communities in which they belong. Like
yes,
I only knew about Two Live Crew because it came on the radio. I
right,
wasn't in that mix like that.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
And people respected me enough to be like, yeah, they don't really get
yes,
down like that.
yes,
Do you
yes,
understand what I'm saying? And so
exactly.
I feel like sometimes that's what's missing is that we don't have respect and we really
Yeah,
don't know his history.
that part.
We'll be standing on a hit like I'm old school. Do I use the N word? Yes, but there's some people I never use the N word around because I have so
Exactly.
much respect for them, and they also taught me what that N word really meant.
Yes.
And we know that. We
Yeah,
know it's different when the cops say
right.
the N word.
Right.
You know what I mean? As opposed to
Yes.
your homeboy saying
Yeah.
the N word to the two of y'all.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
never use it in mixed company. We never use it in
Yes.
front of other people. We just never
Yes.
did. And I
Exactly.
feel like in our need to be free,
Mm,
I guess I'm gonna say that as a lack, we forget that even with freedom comes responsibility
that part. That part. And discernment.
and
Yes.
discernment, right? So
Yeah.
I think we struggle with that. I
Mm,
think we really struggle with um like you could be who you want to be, but
yeah.
like damn, have some kind of decency and respect for
Yes.
yourself, and
Yes.
don't tell me it's about your ancestors and you're gonna do the opposite. Like, girl, it really ain't that deep.
That
Like,
part right
and
there.
if you want to have say the conversation with people who you think disagree with who you are,
Yes.
have the conversation. See,
Yes.
sometimes there's like a bullying culture that I see. Sometimes
Mm,
I back out of stuff because I don't want to be bullied,
yes.
and that's not going to help me change my mind.
Right.
I think if anything, you would want me to respect who you are, which I think I do that anyway. I
Yeah.
think removing myself is respectful.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But I feel like if we're really going to say we sister and brother, then we probably really need to just have a conversation.
Yes. Yes.
You
I
can't
agree.
have the conversation by bullying people because what you do
Yes.
is, and this is the real kickback, when this next election come up,
Mm,
we probably Donald Trump going back in there. I don't care if this man killed somebody, he gonna get off. I'm telling you, this is how this world works.
yeah.
Because people, when you bully people and they
Mm,
can't say what they think or feel,
mm,
they will
mm,
walk into that voting booth
mm.
and vote against their enemy.
Mm.
not against their enemy,
Yeah.
against their enemy. Like,
Yeah.
not them. Like, they're not
Right.
going to vote against themselves. They're going
Right.
to vote against their enemy. There's
Yeah.
certain commentaries that I think are so racist, but sometimes they'll be taking on people, and I'll be like, I'm gonna follow them because I want to know how they do it
Right.
because I
Right.
can't do it.
Right. We need
You
to
see what I'm
know.
saying? Right.
Yeah.
So that's how those strange bedfellows come about.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? Because we don't even
Yes.
know how to have a conversation with each other
Yes.
to see if, like, maybe this isn't a really good thing, or let me
Yes.
see what this person means. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Absolutely. I
I just
totally
feel like
agree.
I feel like that's a challenge in our community.
Yes.
You
We
know?
have to also look at the role that this media is playing. Blessing Sister Betty Wright.
Yes.
Blessings Khadija. We have to look
Right.
at the role that the media is playing in exploiting the images and the bodies of Black women.
Let's talk
And
about
at the end of the day, who is getting the wealth that they are amassing with the exploiting of us? And what are the rippling effects of the images of Black women that are being promoted in the mass media,
it.
right?
Okay.
I saw this video, of Sister Cardi B, and I love her again.
I like Cardi B for some reason.
I love her.
I don't buy none of her stuff, but I just like sometimes she makes sense.
Just her spirit. I mean,
Yeah.
because she's authentic,
Yeah.
she's strong to me. She donates to a lot of causes. People don't even know
Yeah.
how much she gives to community and the work that she does.
Right.
And I understand, stripping paid her bills initially. She,
Right.
she came from a lot of lower vibration experiences, and
Right.
for her to be able to ascend where she has favor. And I want to recognize that. But I tell you, that song WAP, I can never, get out of my mind the image in that video of Black women on their hands and knees, our queens, eating food out of a dog dish.
Wow.
This is the image that someone who produced that video chose. They chose Black women on their hands and knees eating from a dog dish. What is the subliminal programming of
Mm,
that?
it's real talk.
They called a woman a H and a B 87 times in that song. You H, you B. They chanted it over and over.
Wow.
How do we miss that? While we're worrying about grown people and what they're doing, we're promoting this. We're talking about millions, 20 million people saw that video. What effect did that have? In the lyrics of the song saying it's okay for a man to take it from a woman. No, it's not. No.
It's real
He
talk.
should always ask
That's
if
right.
she wants it. He should always honor if she says no, I don't want to do it. No. But this is what was promoted to young
Wow.
Black girls all over the world, and girls of all colors
That's
and
real talk.
races. This
Yeah.
consciousness. So when we wonder why now to get credibility, we
Mm,
see what happened to the sister in Mexico when the
mm.
other sister killed that beat her to death while another young man videotaped it. See, then we start to understand why these things are happening,
Real
right? Why
talk.
I can see someone who looked like me get beat to death and I don't stop it, and I'm filming, laughing at it like it's entertainment. This is
Mm.
what is being promoted and pushed by mainstream media, but we're saying yes.
That's real
So we
talk.
have to understand, and it's not easy when they're paying you hundreds of thousands of dollars and allowing you a type of lifestyle that you only dreamed of. It's hard to say no to stuff like that. When a generation ago, people didn't even know how they were going to pay their rent or eat. I get it.
But
I
that's what drug dealers said. And
yeah.
how many of them really live to spend that money?
Now,
See, my thing is, I'm not trying to be funny.
now,
There's the same
yeah,
way Cardi B has that, or the rest of them. There's a lot of women who are faced with that same thing. You
yes,
have to ask yourself, why did you take the road? And
yes,
are you willing to deal with your consequences? I'm a believer, no one gets out of this without pain.
yes, yes,
So it can be good while it's high, which means it's going to be really good when it's low. And
yes,
my thing is, I can see if that's maybe you didn't know no better. But
yes,
there comes a point where you know better. Because sometimes Carly
yes.
B say stuff that makes so much sense. When
Oh
she told
yeah,
those two women on the because I don't watch a lot of stuff, just watch clips because I have teenagers
yeah,
I work with. When she got
yeah,
to told the two black women, y'all both look dumb fighting over this fool. He's a clown. Both of y'all. I mean, she went in, and I
Right.
said that's when I knew that Cardi B can make some sense because
Yeah.
she understood that.
Oh,
I
she got
think that,
plenty
yeah.
sense.
So I think there comes a time
Yeah.
where you kind of have to flip the script. You like
Yeah.
the same thing with Lola Falana. Everybody know who
Yeah.
she is. She said she gave up when she looked back. She ended up giving herself and becoming like a born again Christian or something like that. But she said
Wow.
at
I
the
didn't know
time
that.
she was doing stuff, she did what she had to
Mhm.
do because that's what she wanted to. But when
Yes.
she started to get more knowledge, she realized like that this was not working for her.
Yes.
See, on the
Yeah.
outside, we look like it was working for her because we
Right.
watching her and like, oh my God, it's Lola
Right.
Falana, blah, blah.
Right.
But we don't know the stuff she did to get those roles and stuff. So
Exactly.
at some point, she had to like get herself together and be like, this won't work
Reconcile.
for me. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Right.
I just feel like you can't contribute to the downfall of your culture, but just look at that crack era and see how many drug dealers are still around.
Yeah. And
Tell me how much.
again,
Tell me how them changed their family's trajectory of generational wealth by selling crack for 4 or 5 years. Tell me.
absolutely. I wrote one of my novels that I wrote, Sheep and the Wolves, is about the opioid crisis in America. And I actually talk about, hey, five-star Jules, what's going on, family? And I actually talk about, how, the whole drug culture, how it's promoted in Black communities, how it's accepted and made
Mm-hmm.
acceptable based on, the material things that people have as a result of it. But we know what's going on. I mean, Maxine Waters, US Congresswoman Maxine Waters, talked about the dropping and the infiltration of drug culture and gang culture
Mm-hmm.
in urban cities across America. And make no mistake, by urban, I mean Black and brown.
I
So
get
this
that.
is a real issue for us, but we keep saying yes. And I think Dr. Frances Cress Welsing really had something. And
Memory.
this is why I decided to focus my work on healing, because Dr. Francis says we have to teach our young people, and this is the work that you have been doing so beautifully and that I've watched you do these
Thank
last
you.
decades, from healing to healer. I've been following you that long,
Wow.
to the work that you do with our young sisters, you know, that we have to teach them to love themselves so much that they can't pull out a gun. They won't be able to pull out a gun and
Mm,
shoot someone who looks like them or beat them to death while another person looks on. Like, we have to teach us to value ourselves, because we know that the atrocities and the violence that we take part in against each other is connected to the self hate that we carry for ourselves. But it didn't get there by mistake,
right.
right? It was
Agree.
programmed into us.
I
And to
agree.
counter those measures is going to take a lot of work. When my daughter was a little girl, that's why I started when she was 5 years old, when I used to take her to the mirror and I would tell her to look in her own eyes, and I would say, your skin is perfect. The texture of your hair is perfect. And I would make her repeat these things. Say, my
Right.
nose is a perfect size. My lips are beautiful. I had to teach her these things so that she would be able to counter the intentions of white supremacy and racism in the world. And so this is the work that we as elders, we
Mm-hmm.
as practitioners of Ifa, and also anyone with sense, around
Right.
humanity. You can do it in your own way. You can do it at your church. You can do it at your mosque. You can do it at your elay. But we have to counter the efforts of the powers that be that want to destroy and imprison us again. And we haven't even touched upon, the banning of Black books and the erasure of Black history in the colleges and academia, and that whole regime that is rising in power right now, and what we're
Right.
going to do about it. But we
Right.
need to have those conversations.
We're going to touch on that just a little bit. If you're just joining us, we're talking about Black women and Black women's bodies. Talk about a lot of stuff, but mainly we started off talking about our dear sisters, India Ivory and Megan Thee Stallion and Janelle Monae and that whole issue. But it kind of backs into a whole bunch of stuff, to be very
Right,
honest with you.
right.
And when you type in your comments, if you write a big paragraph, it's hard to share. So you have to like not type as big so I can share it.
I
That's
see.
what he's talking about disclaimer. But let's
Yes,
talk about that for a minute. I'll tell you what I feel conflicted because again, I'm going back to the 90s because that's when I came of age. And I didn't learn none of this stuff about Black history from school. I
yes,
didn't. I mean, I
yes.
remember getting VHSs of lectures and reading books. People tell me about books, and you go get the book, all Hail the Pale White Horse. I go over so many books that we read. It was more underground. I think we have to be very careful when we ask the powers to be to educate us about our own history, because these
Yeah.
people are not going to tell you the truth. They're not going to
Mm.
tell you to go to the Lynching Memorial in Montgomery, Alabama. They're
Yeah.
not going to tell you to go to places where you can get the raw history. They're going to dress it up, because if I was the
Mm.
person, or if I'm the descendant of the people who treated you so bad and then assist in building a system that you
Mm.
could never use, redlining, not getting loans. I mean, we can go all
Yeah.
down the list, the
Yeah.
things that happen to black folks, and
Mm.
and it backs up to people who sustain the system. How can I ask that group to let me be able to learn about black history? Like,
Yes.
that's kind of a little, that kind of, it's a little crazy.
Exactly.
Like, I mean,
That's
it's kind of
real.
schizophrenic in a
Yeah.
sense.
I
You know
love
what I
it.
mean? When you should
Yeah.
basically be probably gathering up people in your neighborhood. See,
Mm.
maybe it's just me, but I don't
Mm.
remember black folks being so goddamn scary. I don't. Maybe it's just me. But
Yes.
we seem kind of scary a little bit.
Mm.
Like, it's like
Mm.
we're afraid to like go into our communities and get young people and teach them the things we think is important for them to know.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? It could
That's
just be
real.
me. It could just
No,
be
no,
me.
no. It's not you. I see you. I mean, I know what you're saying. I think that a lot of us are focused on survival. A lot of us, are, when I look at why we aren't more involved, and then there's just that individualism that we've been conditioned. We still don't get the we. We still think it's them and us when it's us. Like, we look at Africa and we don't see that as us here in America, black Americans. Most of them don't see the connection that what's going on with them has a connection to us.
Right.
Even some of us don't even identify as people of African descent. I've heard black people say, "Well, I'm not African." I'm like, "Huh?" Like, did you do your DNA, boo? So I mean, those are real issues, but I think that there is plenty of work for those who are ready. I try my best to focus on the ones who want the medicine. And again, Essence is such a powerful platform. There's so much power in what they are producing by holding that event annually. But we have to look at it. And they do a lot of positive stuff. I mean, we're only talking about one aspect of it. So
Yeah.
I've learned to acknowledge all of it, because so often we focus on the negative. So I want to just recognize and thank Essence
Oh my, I love that.
for
This magazine.
all of the work that they do, for
Mm-hmm.
taking it back to New Orleans, keeping it there even after Hurricane Katrina. It was a couple years where they had to take it to
Right.
somewhere else because the reconstruction was still taking place, but they took it back. They made sure that revenue went to a city where there are a lot of black people. So I think that that's important. Well, maybe break it, Denise. Hey, Denise, break it too, so we can put. She wants to put it up on the
Yeah, the screen so
screen,
people can read
beloved.
your comment.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Sorry
it'll
though.
cover up our faces if she puts it too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
So I think that, but what happened with that and what they choose to put on the platform is important.
I agree.
And there is a whole culture now where black women are being sexually exploited. There's no other way to talk about it. When I see videos on Instagram
The
where they never
BET Awards.
right, they never show the woman's face. They only show her butt. Like when they had that year that they had, I can't remember, it's Lil Nas, one of them, the gay black rapper. I'm sorry to call him that. I can't
Yeah.
remember his name right now. But they had him on there. Bless his heart. And the brother was in beautiful comedic gear. He was wearing the costuming of our ancestors. It was beautiful. And they took that moment. This is what the producers decided, to have him kiss another man, tongue kiss another man on a family oriented show. To me, and I'm speaking from a two-spirited perspective, it
I get
was
that.
totally inappropriate. Like you were speaking about, for that audience. Kids watch that. Parents may not have been able to have a discussion with their children, or may not even want their children to see that. I don't care if it was a man and a woman. Nobody needed to be tongue kissing each
Gotcha. Each
other
other.
on an
I
award
agree.
show. It was
I agree.
inappropriate. But the fact that they chose to show that portrayal of a same gender loving man was
Right.
inappropriate. That's not who he is. That's not all of who same gender loving. I know I'm getting into another
No,
topic,
no,
but my
no.
point is sexual exploitation
Mm.
of black people. We need to shift that.
And
Yeah.
I really feel like that's like sometimes you don't even know in your plight or whatever that is, you
Yes.
can be used against your own folks.
Exactly.
Because it's not gonna make
Exactly.
us accept you any more or less.
Yes.
You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? And I feel like if we're supposed to be in family, then again, that's a conversation you want to have with
Right.
somebody. Like
Right.
you can't go before the whole world who's supposed to be my enemy and your enemy at the same time. But right
Come
now,
on.
you look like the enemy right
Right.
now. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So don't allow people to
Controversy.
use you. Yeah, people
Exactly.
will use you because they don't really care if you could be yourself. They don't.
They
They don't
don't.
care. They don't
They
care
don't.
about none of that because
Yeah.
you don't see their people on those shows. I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. This last BET Awards, it was oh my God. Like, I'm so glad Tyler Perry bought BET. I hope people do something a little different. I don't care if they
Yeah.
move the gospel awards. I don't care.
Right.
But it was just like there was not even a variety. There was a time where there
Yeah.
would be a variety. Like you
Yeah.
would have that one risque person, and then there
Right.
would be other types of people. I'm saying
Right.
that it looked like all the female rappers were just disgusting. Like they were just so
Really?
ratchet. And I was
Oh
like,
God.
dang, y'all don't have a Lauren Hill. Y'all don't have a Queen Latifah. Yeah, what
Mm.
happened to those people? Where's the salt and pepper
Right.
represent? Where
Right.
are those people? You mean
Yes.
to tell me that we all in the strip club? I
Mm.
beg not. Like some of us don't do the strip
Mm.
club, boo boo.
Mm.
So
Mm.
why couldn't you show that
Yeah.
diversity? Again, it's
Yeah.
we don't even want to show
Yeah.
that even in this
Yeah.
us thing or
Yeah.
we thing, we are
Yeah.
still divided into 1,000 pieces, and that's okay
Yes.
because nobody cooking their cornbread exactly the
Mm.
same.
Right.
Nobody not
What?
cooking their collard
Or the
greens
black eyed
exactly
peas.
right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nobody's doing that. Some people don't even eat that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like, why is it so hard for us to show diversity when it comes
Yes.
to us? Why
Absolutely.
do we have to all be naked? Why do we have
Yeah.
to all like why? Like
Yeah.
why? I'm not
Yeah.
understanding this unless you're
Money.
assisting. Now I'm gonna be
Yeah.
keeping all the way a buck. Unless you're assisting our enemies in
Yes.
destroying us, because I don't think all of us are victims. Some of us assisted. Some of us sold Africans. Some of us
Yes.
over here we helped. I don't care about. You did not have to do it.
Yes.
Again, the choice may be yes or no, but it's a choice. That's
Yes.
how I was raised. It
That
was
is
yes or
so
no. But
real.
sometimes we forget that that's our choice.
That
You know what I mean? It's a
yes.
choice.
This is so this is so true, and I agree with everything you're saying, my sister, and
Yeah.
I hope that BET gets this show because we love you. We love the work that you're doing. We're so grateful that you're still here after all these years.
Mm,
Oh, I received
yeah.
that. Thank you, Sister Khadija. And Sister Rolanda has so many amazing people. If you go back and watch, if this is your first time, some of the archives, again,
Yeah. No,
another
I
show.
get you.
But yeah, she
I grew
is
up on BET
awesome.
when they used to have Our Voices. That's what I grew up
Right.
on.
Come on now. And I think that, they did it because it's money, because people get paid and controversy sells. But as you said, sister, at what cost?
Yeah.
Right? If we put our queens up there and we're showing the crack of their butt, almost putting their whole vagina, their vajayjay up on the screen for ratings and for a few dollars. And at the end of the day, we're damaging the self esteem of young Black women who don't
That's
know
right.
that they're enough without opening their legs.
Real talk.
You
Real
are
talk.
enough, queen, without showing your bare naked butt. Your brain is just as valuable, yes, as what's below your navel. And if any young queens are watching this, this is what we're saying. We're
Yeah.
not saying don't be free. We're
Yeah.
not saying don't have fun. I
Right.
love fun. And I think
Yeah.
sensuality and sexuality is the most beautiful thing in the world, right? It's nothing
Right.
wrong with being sexy, but being ratchet and cheapening your beauty and your queenship is another thing. You are a
Mm,
goddess. You are
mm.
a god, right?
That's real talk.
Yes.
That's
And
real
that
talk.
is not the way that goddesses show themselves, right? Again, it has to be earned. The blessing of seeing my innermost, of experiencing the power of my yoni, right? Bruh or sister, whoever you dealing with, they have to come with an offering,
Right.
not just a click of a button. Someone shouldn't get to see the deepest part of me if I
That's real talk.
value myself. If
That's
I
real
know
talk.
what I am worth, I don't give it away. Right? It
That's
has
real
to be
talk.
earned. and we don't want this to be lost so that somebody can buy a Prada or get a $2,500 wig or weave or wear some, $5,000 shoes. We don't
That's
want
right.
that to be lost. So you are so much more than what is beneath your belly button, what is
Mm,
located there. And we have to treat it as the priceless jewel that it is. And if anybody can see it, and if anybody can have access to it, then we do not recognize its value. That's what we're trying to communicate to you on this day.
that's real talk. That's real talk. You know what?
Yeah,
We were
healer.
talking.
Yeah,
We were talking. I was thinking that how scary this must be for India Irie. Because
right.
people started coming for her. You don't sell records, which I bought several of her records.
Oh
They
my
just started talking like a dog. But then they did the
God.
same thing to our dear sister, Rude Boy, what's her name? Take it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, oh my. I
Help me
know you.
out.
Jill Scott? Is
No,
it
not
Jill?
Jill
No.
Scott. Oh, we're gonna get to Jill
Uh,
Scott, but also the sister who performed at
Janet?
the Super
Is it
Bowl with the
Janet
all
Jackson?
red on. She just performed this year. She was pregnant at the same time.
Oh,
Not
Rihanna.
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 People talked about her.
Wow.
She was too covered. She
Oh
was
my
too,
God.
why she got her belly hanging out, even though she had a full red outfit.
Wow.
Like, my God, okay, so now her putting on clothes is a problem?
Right. That's where we've gotten to. I mean, we've really started to just, and again, I'm not, there's no shame around our beautiful bodies. And it's beautiful that queens are getting comfortable no matter their size,
Right,
or, that we're comfortable with our bodies. We should love our bodies. We should celebrate the naked body. It's a beautiful thing.
right.
But when anybody can have it and see it, how special and sacred
Is it
is it?
right
Right?
on? Right
And
on.
then when somebody comes up and they want to grab our body or touch our body without our permission, and we get upset and we want to cuss them out or fight or shoot or kill them, well, isn't it because we put ourselves out there like that? So
So
that's what we have to be mindful of.
So,
Yes.
Queen Mother, here's the other kicker. So, every 5.5 hours in the United States, a black woman or girl is unalived.
Mm,
Mainly, 99% of these murders are committed by black men or boys. It's
mm,
all on the record. Ain't nobody making this up. This ain't no fake white
mm,
supremacist. This my
mm.
friend works in this area. She's been documenting this stuff for like 5 years.
Oh
But
my.
in the black community, you can't get us to talk about that. You
Yes.
can't get us to talk about the domestic violence that we
Yes.
see experiencing. Black men just busting black women in the face,
Yes.
and hearing black people say, "Well, what did she say?"
Right.
Dude, well, like when that young brother protected his mom and shot the dude who beat her
Yeah.
up when he said, "Oh, you don't make me hit whatever," and he hits her.
Yeah.
And watching black men run away when this boy attacked this woman, and
Yeah.
her 16-year-old son came in and handled, protected his mother.
Yes.
Something's wrong. All of these things to me
Something's
are
wrong.
connected. All of
Yeah.
these things are connected
All there.
because it's a
Yes.
valuing. It's a
Yes.
valuing. It's a
Yes.
valuing. It's
Exactly.
all of it is valuing. All
Yeah.
of it is.
Yeah.
You
It
know
is,
what I'm
and it is
saying?
being, and where is it coming from? What we always have to look for the root.
Right.
Where is
Right
it
on.
coming from? I'll tell a quick true story. I remember there was a cover story that Snoop Dogg did for a very popular newspaper in LA. Um, I think it's LA Weekly, was it? And on the cover of this newspaper, Snoop Dogg was holding a gun. And I remember the community came out hard, like, why would you do that? Why would you appear on a popular newspaper that's read by hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, and you on there promoting an image of a black man with a gun? And he told the truth. I was so glad he told it. He said, well, the truth is, I did not come. Ashe, Denise. Yes, that's so true. He said, Snoop said, I did not come to the set of this photo shoot with a gun. It was not my idea. He said, but when the photo shoot began, one of the photographers and the producers of the set came and put the gun in his hand. You see. See, this is the stuff we don't know. Came and put the gun in his hand. And that ended up being the image that they chose to put on the cover of a Los Angeles mainstream black newspaper, was a black man with a gun. Now, why do we think they did that? Who benefited from promoting the image of a black man holding a gun in America? See, this is where we have to start thinking, because the truth is, there is no black owned gun companies. There is not one gun company that's owned by a black man. So, how are all these guns getting in the black community?
And
right?
my thing
But here's
is,
the
black people
thing.
have a right to have guns. I don't
Yeah,
understand the problem.
absolutely. I
I
agree.
really don't understand the problem. Like, we know that there's guns all over our community. I
Right.
don't know if they're registered, but what I'm saying is that in the white community, they get their kids guns when they're like 5 years old and teach them how
Right.
to aim and shoot and bust a
Right.
cap on a can and all.
Right.
Why black people have to have the promotion of being afraid of having guns?
Well, the
Why
promotion
we get to be?
is that black people are killers and we need to lock them up. That was what the image, putting that image, was about, is that the black man is a violent threat to humanity. That's the image that the white media wanted to promote to the world.
No, now here's the thing. I totally understand that image if I
Yeah.
was a white person. But
Yes.
I don't know, as a black woman, knowing every 5.5 hours I'm being unalived by a black man, would that not be a true statement?
Who I think that,
No, I'm not trying to be funny. Like,
yeah,
I'm really taking it from the perspective again
of
of every 5.5 hours a black woman or girl is unalived in the United States of America. Y'all can look this shit up
as a result of,
by another black person. Like, and mainly they're always men or black boys. It's all. And my thing is, until we're able to address why we are killing each other, I have no control over white people and their imagery. I have nothing to do with that. I
mm,
do think we have to have more conversations with our
mm,
sons who grew
mm.
up to be men, how they see black girls and women. That's something we never talk about.
Well, we're
We
teaching
we
them.
never we never talk about. No, look, I have
Yeah,
seen black
I
women.
agree.
I have seen black women. If a black girl walked up in a conversation and talked bad about a black man, black women will shut her ass down,
Right. Shut up.
educate her, tell her
Right.
all kind of shit. But
Right.
I've seen black women with their black sons make him look like a victim. Like, she just don't know how to understand you. Whoa, ho.
Oh man.
This is black mothers with their sons.
Oh
Don't get me started. Please don't get me started,
that
because
is a
it's kind of like,
show.
and I understand the white man, I understand the history, I swear to God,
Yes.
but I
Yes.
think we forget about the power that we have as human beings. Just because somebody writes a script for you, don't mean you got to play it out.
But you got to
See,
read
I
it.
come from those old school black people that when white people called them niggas, they didn't believe they was niggas. They was like, look, they can call me whatever. I'm about to get this money, going to fix my family. They
Right.
didn't. They're serious. They
Right.
called them boy or George, like
Mm,
all the black men were known as George on the train. Do you
mm,
think that really affected who they were? Like, in terms of like, hey,
mm,
but I still got to ride this train, make this money so I can feed my family. Did we forget that we were human beings? Did
mm.
we absolutely forget that part? I mean, I'm just saying.
No, you are on point as usual. But what I want to say is this,
Help
Queen,
me
is
out. Help me
that
out.
the killing of black women and the injury of black women by black men is absolutely connected to the system of white supremacy and racism in this country. And we have to unmask it in the connection. And the way that they have been programmed, they too have been programmed by the images demeaning black women. They too have been programmed to believe that they don't have value and that they don't have to treat us like queens. They too have been programmed by the uh, promotion of images that devalue black women. But I want to flip it and also say that they do not show or portray the beauty and the power of all the black men that are going hard for their queens every day. The
I
black
agree.
fathers I want to shout out, like my
That's right.
brother Francis Covington, who took care of his daughter when he didn't have the mother in the household, and he's, as a black man, as a black father,
Well,
cared for his daughter and raised his daughter up to be an incredible woman. And the many other black men, my daughter's husband,
absolutely.
her husband as a father, and the way that he loves his kids, and the way that those four black boys, there's so many powerful and positive images of black men, but we don't see that. That's
I
not what's
agree.
promoted. What's promoted to us is the killers, is a Snoop Dogg holding a gun, so that America can believe the lie and the hype that we don't have young kings. The sister Denise, who was posting on here, her beautiful son, and the kind of father that he is. And there's so many other, you know, these are the images. When I look at my sister Pat Munson, who's on watching, and what she went through with the loss of her son to gun violence, right? So they are much as the victim as our queens are. Even when they're committing the crimes because they are victims of white supremacy and racism. So we have to always go up under the crime to the root cause of what is happening. and it's all connected. You said that earlier in the
Oh,
show.
I definitely believe it's all
Yes,
connected, but
it's
I
all
also
connected.
and here's the thing, I totally agree with everything you're saying, but I just have to keep it all the way a buck. So I think this is where we sometimes have differences, and it's okay. Differences are great.
Yes, yes.
Differences don't mean we don't love each other. This means that we're different.
You already
I
know.
just can't. Yeah, I just can't afford to be blaming white people because I don't see them every day. I'm not trying to be funny.
Yes.
I can't. I can't do systematic racism. I lived through the crack era, so I really can't do that. I watch black people survive things that they weren't even supposed to survive at all when
Mm,
white people had it all figured out of who they were going to be. And I'm
mm,
saying I come from those people who understand who.
yes.
I like Sister to say I was taught who my own enemy was, but I
Mm,
also was taught about the enemy within. And I
yes.
think that's why I think a girl should be taught how to bust a cap on a dude. If he go, you got to kill him before he kills you, because
Mm,
that every 5.5 hours, that's embarrassing. There's no way I can look a black woman in her face who just lost her daughter to a black man killing her and tell her white supremacy did it. That would be
mm,
a bit disrespectful. When we
mm,
know that the
mm.
man she had been loving or been in a relationship with or whatever, like it gets a little ridiculous because then it takes the responsibility of credibility, or I mean
Yes,
responsibility off the person who pulled the trigger.
yes,
There's a
yes.
lot of people sitting in prison right now in hindsight, like I was on some other shit. I just didn't have
Mm,
the courage to walk away. I
mm,
didn't have the courage to be like, this girl hurt my feelings or she was emasculating me. And I could
mm.
have just went for a goddamn walk. I
Yes,
really did not have to strangle her to death. And
yes.
until we see, we can't, white supremacy only wins because we allow it to win. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yes, yes.
Until we make accountability with each other and have respect for each other. That's why
Mm,
back in the day, I used to love when black folks would say, hey, sis, hey, bruh. That meant something to me.
yes.
That person felt like that we could have been related. That's my family or whatever.
Mm,
But my thing is, I'm not expecting for my bruh or sis to murder me.
yes. Mm,
See, that's the part we
mm.
don't want to talk about. How do
Yes.
we get,
No, we
how do
don't.
we make white supremacy disappear? We make it disappear or crawl back into its layer by how we treat each other.
Mm, mm. I
But if
shall.
you know what I'm saying, I think that's
Okay.
where we
Mm,
struggle at. That's where
yeah.
some people be like, I would rather take my chances of living in a Klan
Mm,
neighborhood
mm.
than to be dealing with niggas. No, because it's just it gets to be too much when we don't
Mm,
get to have any accountability.
mm.
It's okay to have accountability. It's okay to say I
Yes.
love. It's okay to say, I don't get along with black people who I don't know have
Mm,
more education than me.
mm,
So you don't have to hate on them. You don't have to make them feel some way because they're not
mm,
on the level to which you're standing
mm,
on. We
mm.
struggle with some things that we forget that we are like we created everybody on the
Yes.
planet.
Yes.
That's like
Yes.
a parent telling their
That's
kid,
deep.
"Well, you don't treat me right." Your parent be like, "Girl, I'm your mom. I birthed you. Girl, sit down somewhere." Like we forget that we have that ability. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying white supremacy isn't real. Is
Mm,
it real? It's real globally.
mm,
It's
mm,
real.
mm,
But I
mm,
also find out we forget about the power that we
mm.
possess
Yes. Yes.
that could put that in check immediately. We could
Mm,
just ignore these fools.
yes.
That would kill them. When we built our own black towns, that was killing them.
I absolutely agree. I think that with Black women who are victims of domestic violence, whose lives have been taken by domestic violence, for me, the work becomes figuring out why that queen chose a person who have the propensity to harm them in the first place. What level of self-hate and lack of self-love existed within her as a survivor of domestic violence? That was where my healing came in.
Right
When
on.
I had to again trace it back. I want to say that again. Trace it back, queen. Take it deeper than the crime because that's the surface. That's a symptom. Yes? Domestic violence is a symptom of a deeper issue that dwells within us. You
But
see,
yeah.
because out of all the bras or the sisters or whoever I'm in partner with that I could have chosen, we know when a person has the propensity to commit acts of violence. We see it in the first 3 months, right? When we dating them, we already know that they have the propensity to commit acts of violence against us. We see the rage and we say nothing, we ignore it, and we make excuses for it. Why do we do it? We do it because we were wounded when we got in that relationship,
But you
right?
see,
I
but you
didn't love me when I made that choice of that bruh or that partner, you see?
right on, right on.
And I have to deal with, again, go up under the crime. Why was I wounded? Who wounded me before I even got in that relationship? Was it my daddy? Was it my granny? Was it my uncle? Am I a survivor of rape? Am I a survivor of sexual abuse and incest? The other big secret that we don't want to talk about.
Right on.
So we have to look up under why I even got in that relationship to begin with. And we will see a pattern. Often domestic violence is an
I agree.
intergenerational. So grandmama was abused, great grandmama was abused, and mama was abused. And I
Right
am
on.
keeping this paradigm going in my family. So somebody has to break it. And in order to break it, in order to end the cycle, if we want to stop the system of racism and white supremacy, we have to understand how it operates. I wrote, Sister Ia, I wrote the blueprint for healing racism,
Mm,
and I put it out on my Facebook platform, on my Instagram platform. And it was based on my research of the teachings of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the teachings of Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark, the
mm-hmm.
destruction of Black civilization. I based it on the research and the lessons that I had been taught by, Amiri Baraka and many other great civil rights heroes and sheroes. And to me, we need to look at solutions, right?
I
And
agree.
because in order to overcome a system, we have to look at
Lord,
how it
it
remains
works.
successful.
I agree.
How does it keep functioning? How does domestic violence keep allowing it to happen in our communities and it's getting worse? How do
Right.
we, so what's up under that system? What's its foundation upon? You
Right
see?
on. Right
And
on.
when we figure that out, and I've come to understand some of the roots of that, then we can begin to dismantle a system. But we can never win a war against anything that we don't understand. And most of us don't understand how the system of white supremacy and racism functions in this world. The 9 channels that it operates through. And Dr. Francis broke it down. She
Right
did a
on.
whole series on racism, and she broke down the 9 channels that racism and white supremacy operates through. And one of it is sex and sexuality and the
Mm,
sexual entertainment industry in this world. It's a whole entity of itself, and it is definitely exploiting our Black women. It is definitely using the bodies, yes, and the images of Black women as a way to oppress them and to demean them and devalue them. It is
right on.
programming our young Black queens to think that they don't have value except for between their legs. When I saw my sister, who I love, and we spoke lovingly about her earlier in this show, and I know we're
Mm-hmm.
getting close to time, but we spoke lovingly about our sister Cardi B. And I saw her doing a performance recently on YouTube, and her husband looked on with his homeboys, where she cracked her legs open and almost showed her vagina. And I remember his boys turning around and looking up because they didn't know what to do. They're like, oh my God, this man's wife is
Right.
in front of me twerking and tweaking and putting her vagina.
It's real
What do I
talk.
do? I can't. Normally, I would throw money.
Right.
Normally, I would grab my private parts and who and ha. And I thought to myself, what man would let his wife, the mother of his children, crack her legs open in front of his boys and twerk and dance and demean herself if that is not his sacred? Like, I remember joking with my daughter. I said, you just know that you can never be a stripper. She's like, why, mom? I said, because I will burn the strip club down. She started laughing. I said, I will come on the day that you are scheduled to perform. I'm telling you right now, don't ever do it. She never did. I don't know if she just thought I was joking or she's like, my mama's that crazy.
Right.
Because, I just couldn't see that because I value the person that I love, the mother of my children. I couldn't let her do that. I wouldn't. She don't have to do that. She doesn't have to do that anymore, right? She
Right.
has achieved, and if you're watching this, if you watch this, Cardi, you've achieved a level of fame and
Mm-hmm.
success, queen. You ain't got
I
to
get
do that
this.
no
It's
more,
real
beloved.
talk.
Elevate, beloved. I love you. Elevate. You are more than that. You don't need to do it anymore. Spoken with love,
Right
spoken
on.
from the elder. Ashe.
Right on. Ashe. Ashe. You just said something that just made me think of I think that's where I'm trying to get to. Like the same way when we talked about domestic violence and you asked a woman to dig deep in herself and ask herself why, that's what black men have to do.
Mm,
Those black men who commit every 5.5 hour murders.
mm,
See, the answer for them can't be white supremacy. If we're gonna
mm,
ask a sister to dig deep inside of herself and
mm,
say, "Why are you staying here?" And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, what is it with this food? Where does this come from? Where did you learn
mm,
this? Is that's the
mm,
same way I think I'm trying to say about the men in our community. Not all of them,
mm.
of course. No, I'm not saying all. That's why I
Yes,
say some who are
yes.
committing these crimes. Like,
Mm,
when would they dig deep inside themselves? Not just when you get to kid prison. Like, you
mm,
probably could avoid prison if you stop right now, because I think all of
yes,
us have these things inside of us that go off and we ignore it. You
yes,
know what I mean? Instead of
yes,
being like, another thing on the Tupac video, not trying to be funny, the dude was saying him and Tupac were trying to be drug dealers, and it was
yes.
like nobody would buy crack from them. They said they were
Wow.
horrible. They were horrible drug
I
dealers.
didn't know that. Oh my
Yeah, they were
God.
horrible. They were I've
Mm,
never heard a person say they was a horrible drug
wow.
dealer ever. And he said because
Wow.
that wasn't the line of work for them. And he said what made them so horrible is that they were too giving. Like they
Mm,
had a consciousness of being nice.
wow.
And so it just never worked for them. And I always say sometimes the bill looks like that. It's
Mm.
like think of the times you wanted to do something and you never knew why it could never go off. Because
Right.
that was really your ancestors probably protecting you, but it was also until you could get in your head like this is probably not a good idea.
Mm, mm,
Like you're really not built to do this part.
mm.
So just don't do it. When he said that, I said, "Why? Well, I never heard nobody say they were horrible drug
Yes.
dealers. Usually it's about how they was moving weight." He was like, "We were horrible drug dealers."
I
He
didn't
said, "I
know
had eight
that.
pieces of
Oh
crack to
my
sell,
God.
and nobody would buy the 8 pieces of crack." It was
No.
so funny,
Oh
but it
my
was just
God.
like I think a lot of people who, because everybody wasn't a successful drug dealer, nobody talked
Mm,
about what was happening with them
mm, mm,
that turned them from going the opposite way.
mm, mm,
Instead of trying to persistently be in
mm.
this game, it was like
Yes.
it just didn't work for me. So I had to go find go get like a real job
Yes.
because that was not going to work for me. I think
Yes.
we count out that part in terms of us looking inside of ourselves.
Mm,
Like
mm.
when I hear black men say stuff about negative black about women, and I'll be like, "Is your mama black?" And then I start basically going, and they be like, "Yes, but when you
Right.
say that, I'm her."
Mm, mm,
The same way I see you and see my brother and my father
mm.
and my nephews. Like
Yes.
that has to be. It can't be just me doing the dig deep into the deep
Yes.
dive because
Yes.
I get stuck with the children and stuff. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
Sometimes, so I'm gonna need you to do that. I'll
Yes.
tell men all the time, y'all need to be in a support group. Like there's men
Yes.
circles. Go sit in the, even guys. Y'all need to sit among some dudes who get it right. Stop taking
Yes.
advice from people who just they ain't right. That's your
Yes.
homeboy.
You know it's not right.
You see them slap their woman and wonder to yourself like, oh my god, I think I'm
Mm,
supposed to say something, but I
mm,
don't know what to say.
mm.
Because we would say something. We would.
Right.
I know black women. We will
Yes.
say something. We'd be
Right.
like, "Girl, don't talk to that man like that."
Yes.
We would say
Right.
something, but I
Yeah.
don't always see that in the opposite.
Yeah. It has to be. You're so right because I mean, one of my shows that I love, and there's some great comments. Oh my God! I hope we get to
I'm
read
sorry.
some of these comments. But
I'm just saying
D
something. I'm sorry.
Pepper Massey,
Okay,
yeah,
and
D
I'll go
Pepper
to the next
Massey
one.
was okay. You're gonna read some of them, but and I see you
Yeah,
putting them up. But
yeah.
she said that Cardi B, she said her talent speaks for itself. That was such a powerful statement that the reason why she doesn't have to do stuff like that anymore that she had to do from her stripper days is because she's a great rapper, she's a great lyricist, she's a great performer. So it's like she doesn't have to demean herself. And oh man, oh yeah, Denise's comment that,
Yeah.
oh, this is a great point. Black men learn violence from their childhoods. They weren't born that way. Lack of an environment with opportunities and nurturing for both semesters. Sick and sick does not equal healthy outcomes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, these are things, and D. Pepper said, emerging Black businesses need to empower our Black men by engaging them. This is just, oh my goodness, this is some good stuff. The comments are another workshop. I
Yeah.
love it
Right.
today.
Right.
But
Right.
but I just want to add one more piece of this that was there, and I wasn't at Essence Fest. Hopefully, I'll get to be there next year.
Right.
But one of the pieces to, like, I'm looking for the outcry in our community. And you said something in this talk today about us taking power back around the teaching of our history and not relying on any white institution
To
or
do it.
white entity or platform to
Yeah.
promote and teach our history because we know it's going to be inaccurate.
Yep.
So the fact that they snatched it is really an opportunity for us to take it back to another level. And I'm seeing all of these shows like Awo Akinkugbe, one of my elders, he recently started a show promoting Black history.
Right
There's a
on.
lot of them on Instagram that we know of, the ancestors. I can't think of the name of, you know who I'm talking
Right,
about.
right, right.
Yeah. There's a lot of platforms where there's Black history on TikTok. It's amazing the
Yeah.
Black history that's being taught, right? So we need to promote those. We need to post those. But they're going for our social media next.
Yeah.
There's also, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm anticipating the move that
Mhm.
the conservative push that they're doing, these right-wing zealots and what they're promoting. So we see what's happening, the writing on the wall, the banning of Black books.
Yep.
They could just be a single complaint at a library and they're removing Black books from the shelf and banning these authors. We see the writing on the wall. And I just wrote a commentary that hopefully is going to be published in the New York Times really soon about this. So there's a lot going on. And finally, the way that we support organizations that are doing the work, where we're putting our dollars. We have to, what made the civil rights movement so powerful and successful was when we stopped giving our dollars to companies and institutions that don't support the empowerment of our communities or that even oppress our communities. Like, Earth Mama. This organization has been out there for years doing great work. This sister has taken, I don't even know how many groups, I've lost count, where she takes these young sisters on incredible journeys around the world to show them the world, show them the beauty of our history and our indigenous nations. I mean,
Mhm.
this work should be funded $5 million, $10 million, to heal them, to teach them, to affirm them. She introduces them to leaders in the community. This is great work. I founded, the Healing Racism Academy. We're raising $5 million right now. We have a capital campaign to fund the education of Black history,
Right on.
outside of mainstream
Right
universities.
on.
So this is the work that we're trying to do, and we need our celebrities and our Black business owners like Robert Johnson and others to support and to put dollars behind the work that's really transforming our communities.
Right
So,
on.
so if you're listening, Bob Smith and others, please get behind it. Get behind work like what we're doing. Noble Trinity Entertainment. We're putting out Black books. Noble Trinity Media, by books by authors who are conscious. The Homeless Goddess Project, helping to house
Mm,
unhoused Black women of color and other women of color who don't have a place to live, who have been living on the streets, who are
mm.
overcoming challenges with mental health and mental illness.
Right
This
on.
is the work that we're trying to do. So we need our business owners to get behind it because we're promoting beautiful images of Black
That's
women,
right. That's
you
right.
know. So I just thank you. And while we're on, I really want to acknowledge, the work that you've been doing. When the Black women started going missing across the country, you were one of the Black leaders that I saw regularly promoting the news about that. You were how I learned about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, repost, share,
Right. Right.
but it's so
And
important.
that sister who does black femicide has come under attack by a lot of people.
Oh my
That it
God.
was not a good idea for her to be sharing that. Again, wanting to hide your dirty laundry. Like, dude,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a
Yes.
lot of us is out there doing the work. But I'll say this here. I feel like this is just me. I feel like our ancestors are giving us a dose of swimmer saint. Because
Mm,
I feel like when you have a lot of benefits and stuff, you just
yes.
don't do nothing. But when they start being taken away, then you become creative again. That's
Yes.
how we had those 60 black towns out of slavery
Ashe.
because they were
Oh,
people
wow.
trying to find their way. I just feel like when you have a lot, you
Mm,
get kind of lazy. It's like being
mm.
full. When you're
Yes.
full, you don't know what it's like to be hungry. But when you're hungry, you know what it's like to be hungry. You
Yes.
know what that drive is. And
You're
I feel
right.
like this is our ancestors' way of guiding us to
Mm.
the work,
Yes.
like so more people can be doing the work. Because there's some of us, we have always, you back look over our lives, we have always had like
Mm,
the woke stuff. We've been woke.
mm,
Like we talking, I've
mm.
been woke. Some
Right.
of y'all just becoming awake, but you ain't
Right.
really woke. There's some of us
Yes.
have been woke for years. Some of us grew up in
Mm,
wokeness. Like,
mm,
we were
yeah.
birthed in wokeness. I mean, that's kind of like
Yes.
what happened to Tupac. He was really born into wokeness. You know what I'm saying? So when you please
Yes.
watch Dear Mama,
Mm.
Please watch
I'm gonna
Dear
watch it
Mama. I'm
again.
telling
Yes.
you, it was so good. So,
Mm,
but I'm just saying, I feel like we forget. But I
mm,
also, when you were talking, I thought like, man, I gotta have you talk about this voting thing.
mm,
I feel like we need to talk about what are we really voting for,
mm.
and why are we so fragmented
Yes.
in the voting
Yes.
process? Because there's
Yes.
some black folks that are done with Democrats. Like I'm
Right.
just sick of these niggas.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's some that's like, we gotta go Democrat. Then there's
Right.
some of us that's like, we gotta have a plan no matter who in there. Like it,
Yeah.
we're in all of
Mm,
these different, we definitely
yeah.
gotta talk about that. We
Yeah.
also gotta talk about
Mm,
there's just so many things we need to be talking about. We do have to talk about economics. We do got to
yeah.
talk about what does immigration really look like for
Mm,
black people and its
mm,
impact on us. We do
mm.
have to kind of talk about that because
Yes.
now we're also talking about some forms of white supremacy coming in.
Yes.
Like
I
I just
would
feel like there's
love.
all of these discussions, man. And I was down there when
Mm.
they disappeared those Haitians in 24 hours. I was there.
Oh my God. And
24 hours.
even in Russia, in Ukraine, when they were rejecting the African immigrants, and they're, that's another. I know that's
You
another
feel
work.
up? No, no, but I feel like we
Yeah.
should be discussing, and that's what I used
Yeah.
to love about our voices. I really
Yeah.
miss our voices.
Yeah.
I used to love
Yeah.
waking up on Sunday mornings and seeing beautiful Bev Smith. I just thought she was so beautiful and so elegant. And but
Yes.
she would have, and in the thing, she had people from different sides. That's the other
Yes.
thing. Like we
Yes.
keep acting like we're a cookie cutter. It's like some of
No,
us
we're
agree,
not.
some of us don't.
And
But
that's
my thing
okay.
is, it's good to hear the different sides because I may
Mm.
learn something, I may understand something that it don't mean
Yes.
that it converts me. It just like, well, wait a minute, I got somebody on that side.
Right. Right.
So
I
that
want to
that may not
consider
always
it.
be the case, right? You know what I mean? This is what
Right.
they could be, but we never get to do that. People make it seem like it's
Mm.
either one or it's done,
No.
and it's
Mm-mm.
like we
No.
ain't never been like that as a people.
No.
We've
We
never
got to make
really,
room for each other.
yeah, we've never been that way. Like we
Yeah.
just never. We had a neighbor back in the day when I was a kid. She was kind of wild, and my mother, we run the errands for her to the store, but we were not allowed to go in her house. We just weren't allowed because she did. She
Yeah.
had like all. She was like a woman of the evening. She had all kind of
Well,
date
okay.
dealers. She was that person, but I loved her dearly. Still loved
I
her.
know what
You
that
know what I
means.
mean? But very
Yeah.
respectful to her. She said, "Hey, go run to
Mm,
the store for me. I run.
mm,
We'll run to the store. We can
right.
sit on her stoop, like the
Right.
outside step. But we did. My mom says too much stuff going on in the house. I can't control
Right.
what goes on there, but I can control you from the front steps.
It
And
was
so,
safety.
as
Yeah.
I got older and I'm friends with her daughter, I remember one of her daughters saying, "Man, like
Mm,
when we was growing up and we would watch
mm,
y'all, we were like."
mm.
Dang, like they it's kind of like they wanted to kind of be us
Yes.
because
Yes.
they didn't have any discipline in their
Mm,
home. Like I can't explain it. And so
mm,
even though my mother was kind of like she wasn't rude to the woman, she was like, you cannot go in her house
yes.
because they do all kind of
Okay.
stuff in the house. And it's
Yes.
things that we don't do that they do in the house. And I don't want
Yeah.
you exposed to that.
Right.
But you can sit on the stoop
Right.
because
Yes.
that's outside. And I've
Yes.
always sit on the stoop. Sometimes if I was up early in the summer, I have like a little coffee with her or something, not
Yes.
real coffee, but
Yes.
But it's just the thing of like there's
Yes.
these boundaries, and you can't make people
Right.
push past the boundaries because
Right.
of who you can't do that. But we can
Yeah.
learn to have some
We
respect
can
for each other.
coexist. Yeah.
Yeah, God,
Yeah.
I feel like we're
Yeah.
struggling with that right now.
Yes. We are. We are absolutely struggling with that coexistence, but also I think the powers that be, quote unquote, are using the resources to influence the black vote. And you talked about voting, and you have to get my daughter because she worked for the governor of Colorado for the last 2 terms,
Oh wow.
and she represented the women's vote for the initial campaign of President Biden. So she really has a lot of knowledge around the voting system in this country and the political systems that are
Right on.
governing this country right now. And so it would be great to have her on to talk about that, to talk
Oh, I
about
would love to.
legislation, to talk about how laws are created and what we
Right
can
on.
do to empower ourselves in the political process. Because a lot of us don't know how much our vote matters. And when it comes
Right.
down to the Democratic, either, choosing a party, of course, it's a personal decision, but we have to understand that there's certain things that we do just for survival. So no, the Democratic Party is not perfect. It's flawed at best. America's whole entire political system, we know, was created by people that owned slaves. So
Right.
no, it's not the answer to our problems in this country, but it is what we are dealing with. It is the laws of the land that we live on. So we have to find our ways to work within that system. And when we can't, we do elbow. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, but you understand what I'm saying,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes,
But
ma'am.
but so I vote Democrat because I know what'll happen if we let another Trump get in office, right? Somebody say Hunger Games, right? So that's why I vote Democratic, because we don't want to allow them, because they're strategic and they're smart, and sadly they're 5 steps ahead of us, right? So
Right.
I vote for a Democrat because I don't want to let a Republican get in office. Exactly, Denise. The Democratic Republic Party is the lesser of two evils. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So,
Right.
sometimes we have to make smart choices, right?
Well, I think that would be a good discussion because here's the thing: I'm not
Yes,
a Democrat. I vote independent. I vote whoever I
yes,
like, who I you know what I
yes.
mean. I just think, but I also feel like I'm so not afraid of the boogeyman. I got so many things done under Donald Trump that I could never get under all of the Democrats, and I hosted for Obama twice. Like my office, or you know what I mean? Like, so for
Yes,
me, I just feel like for some of us, see, not all of us, we do very well with the devil.
yes.
Very well.
Mm.
Like we run like we've
Ooh,
never
gee.
ran before. But when we
Yes.
with people that like us, then we
Mm,
be scared. Because
mm.
when Obama was in there, we thought some of us thought Obama was gonna pay our bills, and we went to sleep on Obama. We were snoring on this dude, and then
Yeah,
got mad at him when he didn't give us nothing, but he gave everybody else something. So I just
right.
feel like that's the conversation. And
That's
my thing is,
real.
even if a demon get in it, like a real flat
Yes,
up, because to me,
yes.
I remember who my ancestors were enslaved under. So for
Mm,
me,
mm,
so to me, Donald Trump was like a walk in the park because I wasn't
mm.
going to ask him for nothing. I didn't need him for nothing, and
Right.
I could self govern, so I was
Mm,
fine. But if
mm.
you are not a self governance, if you
Yeah,
don't have a garden on the side of your
right,
house, if you
right.
don't, if you're afraid to dig a well in your yard, you should be horrified
That
because
part.
you need to live off of these people. But
Right.
I'm saying in our community, we never have that
Mm.
conversation where we
Yes,
could look at what would it look like with either or got in there.
yes,
And
yes.
we never do
Mm.
that. And I remember watching Our Voices and seeing people be on different sides, but
Yeah,
you at least got like an idea.
that
So
part.
for me, I mean, a lot of black people we talk about this, and sometimes, and I had my homegirl J. Ryan, she said sometimes you can't even talk about who you vote for in front of black folks because
Yeah.
they'll come for you like a white person
Oh,
because
wow. It's
they be so
scary.
guarding. No, I'm
Yeah.
dead serious. They
Yeah.
so be guarding their seat. They're
Yes.
so afraid
Yes.
they'll be guarding their seat. And so you
Yes.
can't even say who you would vote for or not vote for, or why
Yes.
you would vote.
Yes.
I see that with black people,
Yes.
and I didn't vote for Donald Trump at all. I'm not going to. I voted for Jill Stein. I was like,
Right.
because I couldn't vote for Biden because I lived through the crack era. So I remember all those black men get locked up for years. So I just couldn't do it. But
Right.
I remember seeing black people talk about Trump
Mm.
supporters so bad. I was like, God damn. Like they just voted for this nigga, bro. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like he's so what? Like what are you going to do to have a
I love you.
conversation with them so we can see
Mhm.
why are they voting for this fool?
Yeah.
If they because
Yeah.
I couldn't vote for him. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna vote for
Yeah.
Jill Stein. And that was
Yeah.
the end of that. But my thing of it is, it was just like, and she ain't no, I mean, the lesser of two evils, right? I don't even know this
Yes.
heifer like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's like we gotta be able to sit in the room with people, or at least at a
Yeah.
table with
Yeah.
black folks who may not believe as you believe,
Yeah.
because they're still black, right? If we could accept dope dealers and criminals and all of these
Come
people
on
who
now.
are
Come
rolling our
through.
community, you mean to tell me you can't talk to a Donald Trump supporter?
Well, hey, I voted for Hillary Clinton. I really
Yeah,
wanted her to win, and
yeah,
I knew the history, but I also knew the things that were there that would have been made available had she gotten in office. Because again, it's a flawed system, no matter how you look
yeah,
at it. And I definitely voted for Kamala and for
yeah,
President Biden. With a clear understanding again
yeah.
of the political system that governs this nation. I'm
Right,
very clear. My aunt, I started when I was 16 years old
right. Oh,
working in this system. So I was able to really understand both the political and the judicial system that governs this land. And that's why I say that knowledge is power.
right,
Because
right
when
on. I
you
agree.
understand it, yeah, you know how
No,
to
I
work
totally
it.
agree. I just
Yeah.
think that would be a great conversation. I think we're coming up
Let's
again
do it.
to this election. And I feel like
Oh yeah.
it's
That's at
sometimes
stake.
our enemy is going to win because we don't in our community we cry about diversity because we think
Yes.
diversity means one Mexican, one white person, one you
Yes.
know, but we don't know in the black community there's a lot of diversity, but we keep acting like we're a monolith,
Right.
and the people who don't believe in that they'll just go ahead and do what they're going to do
Yeah.
without even checking in with people who look like
Yes.
them.
Well, my daughter Danielle is
Okay.
the vice president of Colorado Black Women for Political Action.
Okay.
So they're a nonprofit organization that creates visibility for Black candidates across the nation, not just in Colorado, but Black people who are running for political office. So it would be awesome to have her. Oh, let's see. D Pepper says on Fox News, they were talking about an independent party that's presenting a supposedly centrist candidate that Democrats and Republicans have almost overwhelmingly said they would vote for. Interesting. Okay.
See
I've
what I'm
never voted
saying?
independent. So that is really interesting. I can't wait to hear more about that. Thank you,
Yeah.
Pepper, for
So,
posting
and
that. Wow.
just remember that our real enemy, they don't just plan like the year before the election.
Mm.
They've been planning
Thank
since
you.
the insurrection. Like it'd be like,
Come on
okay,
now.
this is
Come on.
setback. Let's
Yeah.
go be, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
they don't do it out of emotion. I'm just gonna keep it honest with
Yes.
you. I think black people be a little too emotional. We
Mm.
have all of these what it could be. Like, dude,
Yeah.
it already what it is. We have already been
Right.
through the worst of the worst. Let's
Right.
not get crazy, y'all. Like, but my thing is, what are you willing to do? See, my
Yes.
thing is always about if somebody, I will never forget, we had a tomato scare in my old house, and our
Mm.
neighbors from Afghanistan, they had just got here, and they had grew all these tomatoes, and they came next door to offer me some tomatoes, and I was like, oh, they was like, yeah, because it's a scare at the market, and they're not any
Oh,
good, and I was like, now, mind you, they're really cool. They make really great food. But my thing is, we'll talk about a scare at the supermarket and don't even figure to go outside and start getting your little garden together.
wow.
Do you
That
understand what I'm
part.
saying?
I
Like
don't
this is
care.
like there's
Right.
something wrong with that. Like you can scare us to death, but when you scared, are you prepared? Are you ready to homeschool your kids?
Right.
Like, are you really ready? Is what I'm saying. Are
Yes.
you
Yes.
ready? And
Yes.
I come from
That's
the era
really
where
good.
people used to get ready. They used to be like,
Right.
yeah, that's why
Come on.
and we thought that person was crazy sometimes, like, oh Lord, here she go. But
My
really,
people
they
are
were sounding the
planning.
alarm. Yeah, they were sounding the
Hey,
alarm, like,
that
y'all, this is not the
ooh, that's my
time.
word.
This is not the time, y'all. Like, quit being so
Yes.
scary. It really ain't that deep. I have
Yeah.
friends who live out in Clan Country on
Wow.
farms right now. Like, these people
Wow.
ain't doing nothing to me.
That
I'm not in their way. They ain't my way.
right.
I'm sitting on 20. They sitting on 10. You see what I'm saying? And they
I
shoot their
do.
rifles in the backyard.
Right. Right. Yeah, we have to
Just
come
saying.
into consciousness and reality about what is happening in both America and around the world. I always tell people,
That's a whole
watch
nother story.
international news. Don't just watch news in America. We talk about news in my family. Like
That's what's
everybody
up.
shares the news that they saw. We send each other texts and
That's right.
inboxes because all of us are watching different channels. So we share the news so we all stay connected and we're able to overcome and be ready, for whatever is coming. This is like one of the epic shows of Sitting with Sisters. I mean, there's a lot of great
Thank you.
shows, but
Thank
wow, if
you.
you are watching the replay, you are, and please share the video. If y'all who are on this
Yeah.
post or watching with us, share the video so that people can, what Denise say? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she grows food,
That's
Denise.
what I'm talking about.
Definitely. She grows food
No
and
food, no
yeah.
power. I love that. No food, no power.
And have
Sis,
seeds, collect seeds.
I
One of
love
my
it.
godsons from Gangster the Gardener, ETEP, DJ Cavum, he
I like that.
passes out seeds to the community. You know who he is, Gangster the Gardener,
I
amazing
like that.
young cat, priestess of Oshun, priest of
All
Oshun,
right.
amazing young brother. But also collect seeds, collect organic seeds, right?
Right on. Right
So
on.
that you can always, wherever you go, you can start your garden. If we have to live on the road in an RV, we can
Right
grow
on.
food in a pot that we set out each day to get sun and water.
That's
So
real
this
talk.
is awesome.
So Ian,
But
thank you so
oh
much. Yeah, I
no,
don't want you to jump right off, even though we're gonna wrap it up, but don't jump right
okay,
off. But I want
okay.
to thank you so much for joining. This is such a great and
This
I
was
just
a
so
good,
energized. Like, what am I doing? That's like off here. But
yeah.
thank you so much, Ian. I always enjoy your conversation. And folks and farmers, I enjoy your wisdom as an elder. So I'm very grateful because I feel like that's a whole nother show I want to do around what does it mean to be an elder? Because sometimes
Mm,
people try to
mm.
downplay this age thing. And it's like all the people, my grandmother's like 97 and she was sharing stuff with me. I didn't even know about her life that
So
really changed the thought that I had about what I thought they went through.
yes,
She was like,
yes,
girl, but I think sometimes a lot of us don't know any elders,
yes,
or we see people who are in the age of an elder not really acting elder,
yes, yes.
like tradition, like you'd be like,
Right.
dude, you out here smoking weed with me, cussing people out. Like I'm supposed to listen to your ass. You know what I mean? But it's how like people don't understand what does the elder shit like. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What is an elder?
Yes, yes, and there's different levels and types of elders, whether
Right,
it's in the Ifa tradition or is it in just our community, and even some of our elders who sometimes move in a lower vibration or they're not the perfect idea,
I
they
got you.
still have wisdom that they can share with us.
Right on.
And so, yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
You know, again, please support. Y'all know my links, officialtashiasanti.com. You know, please buy my book, Any Heart Open. My newest novel is Any Heart Open, talking about us learning and love, which Sister Rolanda was talking about today, that we can coexist despite our differences, that we can still love each other and work with each other. And we have to learn how to do that, fam. You know, that even if we disagree, we can still support and be there for each other and never let each other go all the way down to the ground,
Right on.
and also forgiving and having compassion for each other is what I teach and hope that we promote it today. Thank you, thank you. Sitting with Sisters is an awesome platform, and thank you for all you do, Queen.
Thank
Okay.
you, Queen Mother Ashe. Okay, hold on. And